Hey everyone, and welcome to a new type of video and potentially a new series if you all enjoy. This is my over-explained video where I go over a VOD of one of my games in Challenger on a specified champion. Today, as you can see, is Rakan, so let's get into it. And the first thing that I want to talk about is Rakan's runes and his items. So for Rakan's runes and items, he has several greedy and safe options. And the idea is that each game you go as greedy as possible. So in terms of runes, Glacial Augment versus Guardian. In terms of starting item, Spell Thieves versus Relic. In terms of Mythic, Shurelias versus Radiant Virtue. In terms of boots, Lucidity Boots versus Merc Treads. And so I'm a big fan of Glacial Augment, and especially in a lane like Varus Lux, who are susceptible to eventually getting engaged on. I want that higher threat from the Glacial. I typically always go Spell Thieves over Relic Shield because I like the extra AP and the mana regen and it allowing you to have more spell rotations during the laning phase. I understand it's a little bit more risky, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. And in fast-paced games with a lot of skirmishes as well, you get to proc it quite consistently. So I'm going to go Glacial, I'm going to go Spell Thieves, and then I really enjoy Shurelias, and you should always look to go Shurelias if you can afford to. Shurelias is a great item against assassins, and we can count Yi as an assassin, and to help get my team in position and everything. So what I'm going to go is Shurelias over Radiant here, and then top it off with Merc Treads. Because they do have a lot of CC, right? Lux's Q, Seraphine's E and R, Varus's R. And so the amount of respect I give the enemy is I'm going to go Mercs. I'm actually going to go Resolve Secondary so that I can have Bone Plating and Unflinching as well for a bit of extra survivability. But then for the rest of the options, I'm going to go Greedy. Let's also quickly talk about level 1. So I like to be quite proactive level 1 because people are often caught napping and it can catch people by surprise and you can really get the game rolling with a good invade, especially on champions that can jump over a wall and surprise people like Rakan and Rel. I'm also expecting this matchup of Jinx Rakan versus the Varus and the Lux to be a little bit tough in the 2v2. Varus, we can see he's going Comet. He is going to be obnoxious with poke and range advantage, and Lux, very tricky lane for Rakan with the poke advantage and the Q being able to stop my W. So I don't want to invest my trinket resource to try and do anything bot if I don't think there's anything to be done bot. So for that reason, I'm going to look to invade. I'm happy to ward somewhere topside, either on the chickens or on the red buff, just to get a little bit of information about the Yi, swap to sweeper, and then go about the 2v2 from there. Now, there may be a theme that you notice in this game, but it's one thing to know what to do. It's another thing to communicate it clearly, concisely, and in advance. And so as you can see here, I've been spamming the chat. I'm typing what I want to do. I'm going to W over the wall. I am not loading into the game 10 to 15 seconds late, swapping Spotify playlists. I am ready to go. The moment we load in, my fingers are over the keys, already ready to type what I want to do. Anyway, we're going to invade. And so my plan here is to W over the wall and have my team wait in the second bush here. And then once my W comes back up, if anyone is spread around here, then I'm going to W onto them. And then I see that no one is spread there for the moment. And my team is patiently waiting for now. And so I'm going to wrap around and try to W onto the Seraphine. Unfortunately, my teammates just run in and give the whole invade away. So then I embrace reality and I decide that I'm just going to back off. There's nothing else to achieve. I don't want to show where I am, because the more people that show, the more of our team that shows that we did invade, the more confidence the enemy team, the rest of the enemies, would be comfortable in responding on the bot side. They might run straight into our bot side jungle, start warding, and make it tough for my Rengar to clear his camps. I also don't end up using my trinket because I noticed that my teammate put a trinket on the enemy red buff, and so now I can keep my sweeper as cooldown, and I'll be able to use it at level 1 if I see a ward getting placed down. Just having a little bit of banter. Just for a little bit of context, it's not really relevant, but the Jinx is one of my students and a support main. Fantastic player. They are off-roll at the moment, so that might just change how I approach the win condition for this game. Okay, so I'm more than happy to leash here. Again, I don't expect to be able to get too much early 2v2 done for this lane. Okay, coming to lane. And this is just all going to be about trying to hit level 2 first, and maybe we can use our level 2 spike to jump onto them and get a huge chunk and kind of turn the tides in our favor. So I really want to avoid trading because they're going to have the poke and the range advantage, and that's never going to work out. So I'm going to try and pressure as much as possible and encourage my Jinx to shove as well. So I'm posturing forwards here. And so I notice a little bit of a trade there. My ADC gets very low, and I am postured in the bush here so that I can achieve maximal pressure. So I can dip into fog, and then they have a harder time to auto attack and poke me out, and they have to potentially respect my W from fog. Meanwhile, I am weaving autos onto the minion wave so that I can try and hit that level 2 as fast as possible. Unfortunately, my Jinx is exceptionally low, and I'm still looking to hit those minions, and this is important. When the second wave melees come out, you really want to emphasize hitting those melees because that's your ticket to level 2. You kill these 3 melee minions, you get level 2, you can fight. But my Jinx, incredibly squishy, has cleanse, not heal, has cull instead of a D-blade, so very squishy as well, and got poked out. So now she's in a world of trouble, and I'm going to decide to try and dissuade the Varus instead of trying to kill the Lux or something. I'm in full disengage mode here. Unfortunately, she dies. It is what it is. At least I know that Varus has no flash now. And I immediately start timing the ADC's flash. And so what I do is I just add 5 minutes onto the flash timer, unless I think that they have Cosmic Insight, in which I would add 5 minutes and then take off 45 seconds. Copy and paste, fill the chat up with timers so that people don't have space to flame and feel tilted, and they have a teammate who is obviously engaged in timing summoners, and it gives a lot of confidence and focus to the teams in general. Anyway, I'm just trying to stay in XP range here. I'm not going to try to last hit or anything. I'm telling my jungler that this gank is free, right? They're chunked. There's no flash onto the Varus. Something that I also forgot to mention is that on level 2 as Rakan, you're going to decide between Q and E. I would say 7 or 8 times out of 10, you're going to take Q level 2, especially if you're going Spell Thieves, so that you can proc it safely, get some poke out, heal up, potentially from getting poked out level 1. And it's also hard to just W in level 2 and E out and have a successful trade for most of the time. But in this situation, my ADC died. They're trying to crash a wave in base. They're chunked and have no flash, and so I want to have E for a little bit more mobility and all-in potential. Okay, so I'm posturing. My body language is I'm pretending like my jungler isn't here so that they have some confidence to walk forwards and try to last hit the minions, and then we can jump on them. I'm also pinging the cannon minion, so we can just have a look at that one more time. Because ADCs and carries, they always want to get the cannon minion, so what I'm trying to do is communicate to my team that I want to gank on the cannon wave. Sorry, on the cannon minion. So when he walks up, I'm going to engage. Fortunately, my Rengar just kind of shows, but still the cannon minion, right? This is a very reliable way to get these ganks off because ADCs are just always going to want to get that cannon. And so I wait for him to walk up, and then I'm going to flash W. And I'm going to try to get both of them in my W so that, I can have the most amount of CC and disruption possible. I'm igniting the ADC, I'm hitting the ADC, I know the target is the ADC, not the support. And then once the ADC is going to die, I start running forwards, and maybe I can get the support's flash on the back end as well. Turns out that it's not possible. And so here, we have a couple options, right? We can shove this wave, and we can go home, or we can freeze this wave and keep my Jinx in lane, and then I just base myself. Now, this is all needed to be done in a split second, and something that you will realize is that it is important to just make decisions and commit to them in League of Legends. You don't get to just sit here for a minute assessing what the best play is. So initially, what you may have noticed is that I ping the wave, and I want to try and just shove in base, because that's a really good rule of thumb to have. But then I realized that it's not really necessary. My Jinx won't have much money to spend. She just came out of base from dying. And so I'm comfortable in just letting my Jinx hold the freeze, and then I can eventually go back. That's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to get my boots and my pink ward. And then I'm going to stand on the edge of the healing range and then W across the nexus, so that it extends my W range, because I'm Wing past halfway of the nexus. It's going to push me out further to have the most efficiency. Keeping my options open, absorbing information around the map. Unfortunately, my champion stopped moving for whatever reason. But you want to avoid getting into the habit of just autopiloting straight back to bot lane from base. I see some volatility unfolding around topside, and what I might be able to do is link up with my Rengar and fight for his top camps. Or if something happens around mid, I can be there as well. And I also know that my Jinx is off-roll and is probably not going to be the win condition for this game. And so it's totally reasonable for you to adapt to each situation and be a problem solver and find what you think is the best likelihood of winning. So I'm going to be putting a little bit less emphasis around bot in general for this game. And then I noticed that she's just getting killed again. And so that just kind of reiterates my plan for winning this game. It's probably going to be around facilitating my mid and my jungle and trying to link up with them and find as many picks as possible the later that the game goes on. For now, I'm only level 2. I see that nothing ended up happening top. I don't want them to get uncontested plates down here. There's also a lot of XP here as well. So the earlier the game is, the more impactful each minion of XP is worth, because it gives you higher percentage values towards your level up, right? And also getting all of your abilities unlocked at level 3 is a really big deal. And there are no neutrals on the map because it's too early. So there's a little bit more incentive to not just be instantly linking up with my mid and my jungle here and to collect a little bit of minions down here. Now, we could make an argument either way. If you're in a similar situation like this, your decision between soaking this wave at level 2 and linking up with your mid-jungle for a skirmish is not going to be the difference between you winning and losing and climbing or not. We're going to hang around. I'm going to try and last hit them, slow down my auto there and time the last hit. And now I'm just going to be posturing, and I see that my jungle is moving towards bot river, and so I'm going to try and link up with my jungler to potentially get something done. Also, there's nothing to be achieved on bot wave. I don't want to hard shove that single bot wave. I want to shove the next bot wave coming out of base there. Crash that stacked wave so that I can safely crash the wave under their tower, have it push back to my Jinx so that I can go and roam around freely without my Jinx losing much. Okay, staying in fog. It's important that you don't show unless necessary. So what we can see here is that I'm not just running towards my Rengar and looking at Varus for no reason. I'm denying the enemy team information of my whereabouts. And so I'm going to peel back towards bot and crash the stacked wave like I was talking about. Either crash this wave or even the next wave if we can stack another one. Okay, and so I can see that their body language is quite safe. So I'm already thinking that we are probably going to be able to crash the next wave because of how much respect and space they're giving us. So I'm going to start to read their body language a little bit more and get some confidence to walk into the bush and pretend like we're looking for a gank with our Rengar so that maybe I can deny some minions or force them to use some spells. I'm also standing in a creative area of the bush because I know that Lux will feel threatened by Rakan in fog here, and she'll either use her Q or her E around this area of the bush and not in this little corner of the bush here. I'm sweeping when I enter this to make sure that I'm not spotted, because if they see this, then of course I'm going to take a lot of damage. Okay. And so here's the big stacked wave that I'm going to look to crash now. You can see the shift in my body language. I'm immediately trying to crash this and set up the last hits for my ADC. And so my first instinct is to shift up into bot river because there's nothing to be achieved around bot here realistically. But as we can see, my jungle is passively farming, my mid is in base, and so there's nothing to actively achieve around them. So I'm going to walk forward, I'm going to proc my Spell Thieves onto the Varus. I'm going to be a little bit behind in proccing my Spell Thieves this game, but it is what it is. And so now I'm going to be running towards mid. Again, this is my game plan, and I got that successful bot wave crash, making sure my ADC is safe over there. Waiting until that melee minion died, so that I have a entrance to ganking this lane from fog. I don't want the minions to see me. And so that minion dies, then she walks forward and her melee minions walk forward, so I'm in fog right now. Again, denying the enemy team information, very, very important. And so here, this is going to be a successful gank. Well, it should be. We should force her flash, and then I can back off. And then the next time that I'm around mid, and Lysandra is level 6, the Seraphine should die. Unfortunately, I mis-execute here. I tunnel a little bit on Eing onto my ally and then Wing and then Eing out because that's a very smooth and generally good approach to skirmishing on Rakan. But I end up rushing my W a little bit and allowing her just enough space to dodge the W. A little bit unfortunate, a little bit of a bad play from me as well. Anyway, I embrace reality quickly. I'm not going to hang around and pretend like we can still kill her. I'm going to immediately back off once my W misses and then try to cover the bleeding of bot lane over here. My Jinx should not have roamed there, but like I said, they're off roll. And then they're going to burn their cleanse, take a little bit of damage as well. And so here I find an opportunity to trade, and I really want to be able to trade because I have my Spell Thief stacks, I'm full health, and especially when my ADC gets chunked, I want to find a reliable Q to heal my ADC up. The difference between landing and missing Rakan's Q is night and day for the laning phase. So I'm going to E onto my ADC to give her the shield, look for a W forwards while I still have my second E available, find the W, find the auto attack, find the Q, and then immediately E out. So that's going to be a really smooth trade window for Rakan and a reliable way to proc all of your Spell Thief stacks. I notice my ADC is going to miss that cannon, so I just last hit that. And otherwise, we're just kind of in turtle mode until we get bailed out by our mid laner or our jungler, or until the Herald is on the map, and then maybe I can just get out of this tricky bot lane, try to blow up the map with Herald and skirmishes, and go from there. Okay, let's keep going. And so I noticed that the enemy Varus is a little bit low on health and mana, so I'm getting a little bit more confidence to run forwards and try to disrupt his base, or try to shove as many bot waves as possible. And now I'm going to shift my body language to trying to give them the false sense of security that they can walk up and pressure, while my mid laner, Lissandra level 6 over here, could potentially find a pick with us. Unfortunately, that's not quite going to work out. So instead, we're going to shift our decision to just try to shove this wave and find a base or roam. Okay, and so I'm peeling off into the river so that I can potentially pretend that I'm basing or roaming, and my Lissandra has found a pocket of fog here to, gank the enemy from. And so that's exactly what she's going to do. She's going to E from fog. I'm going to use my first E to close a little bit of distance and try to get to the Varus as quickly as possible. And then I'm going to use my second E once she has taken her E. And then I'm going to E into the W. Unfortunately, it kills. And so this isn't ideal. I should have saved my W and realized that the Varus is just going to die, and then save my W for the Lux afterwards. So this game was by no means perfectly executed by me. And then I have a little bit of camera issues there, but we do end up getting a kill on the back end there. And then we're going to crash this wave, and then I'm going to be unlocked. I'm using my spells to push as fast as possible. In terms of pushing this wave out as fast as possible, I'm going to wait until I find the W that is not going to disrupt or take any last hits from my ADC. I'm going to damage all of those, and then I'm going to wait until that minion dies so that I can Q the cannon, because I don't want to take this last hit and I want to get it done as quickly as possible. So you can see I'm ready to Q that and then just immediately start basing for that efficiency. And now I'm picking the Herald because I really want to get out of this bot lane. I really want to generate win conditions, open the map up, start roaming and skirmishing. And that's going to suit my champion's identity, and it's also going to disrupt the enemies, right? Because this Varus and Lux lane, they can't handle a fast-paced roaming around jungle fights and skirmishes going on. They want a slow, controlled, extended laning phase. Again, I'm going to do that W trick to just get out onto the map a little bit faster. And my plan here is to force some mid-prio and move up to Herald afterwards, so that the enemy team has to react to that mid-wave, and then we can get the Heralds uncontested. So my goal here is not necessarily to gank and kill. As you can see right now, I'm still denying the enemy team information. I don't want to show right now because we don't even have a mid-wave to use. So I'm denying the information, staying out of the minions' range. And now on this wave, I want to shove and then go to Herald. You can see I'm typing that. Denying information right now until I no longer am able to deny information. So now I'm just going to run mid here, shove as quickly as possible. Now is not the time to deny information. Let's kill this mid-wave, and then I can unlock my team to potentially do Herald. So I have quite a lot of confidence here that my mid and my jungle can get the Herald here. We shoved mid. Their support is showing bot. From the enemy team's perspective, it's very unlikely that they can contest our Herald. And so I make a judgment call here that, okay, we get Herald, job done. I can go back and minimize whatever their counterplay is going to be around the bot lane. Unfortunately, that's not quite what happens. My mid and my jungle just kind of run towards top lane instead. It is what it is. I've made my decision. They're no longer capable of doing the heralds. That window has passed. And so now I'm just in minimize and protect my ADC mode. This is something that you can also look to do on Rakan, is if you invest your first E, you're always going to have that second E for free. So you may as well try to bait them out, try to generate some space or pressure, or waste some of their spells while you still have that second E. So wait until the last second, and then E away again. Really finding that Q angle to sustain my ADC up. And so now I notice I'm level 6 and they're still level 5. And so what I was saying earlier is that if we have a window to engage on the squishy bot lane, then we can do something. And that's part of the reason why I took Glacial. But also, while we're still healthy and we have that possibility, I'm going to be really opportunistic in an engage. So I'm waiting, and then I just find the really simple kill onto the Lux there. Not much to over-explain here, really. I'm just going to ult, and then I'm going to W forwards as quickly as possible. Going to drop the Ignite, get an auto, and then try to keep my ADC as healthy as possible on the back end. Okay. So now I'm going to try and allow my ADC to try and find a shove into base, or at least collect the wave and then base. One of the two. Wing as many minions as possible to shove as fast as possible. And then I decide that there's no way that we can contest the next wave. So I'm just going to peel off instead. And this is going to be a bit of a window of downtime. I have nothing to do bot. My mid lane is in base. My jungler just made a play top and he's basing. So I'm just going to be in fog and eventually base myself. As you can see, I'm building towards Shurelia's, and the Kindle Gem, the health component, is much more important than the Bandle Glass component. I'm saying that I don't really want to make a bot play here. I'd rather play Herald and get out of this bot lane, as I don't have my ultimate and they're going to be stronger. Fortunately, my ADC just kind of walks forwards and dies, or gets chunked and flashes. The speed of the Rakan combo is always an important thing to keep in mind. You want to be comfortable Eing into an immediate W, so it almost looks like an extension of your W's range, and then I'm going to have very aggressive body language to dodge the Lux's Q. That confidence is going to go a long way. I'm not going to be predictable in my movements here to just run away in a straight line. I really want to dodge the Lux Q. And then I ping that Varus has no flash. And then I'm going to flash W, chain CC onto the Lux so that she doesn't even have an opportunity to flash. And worst case, even if she does get to flash away from my flash W, really good trade. I'm hard to kill, I'm mobile, she's squishy, she's immobile. So you want to be really comfortable trading your flash as Rakan versus pretty much anyone in the bot lane, especially because you take Cosmic Insight for that flash cooldown reduction. Make sure to give that kill this time. And now I'm immediately going to start peeling up because there's nothing for me to achieve around bot. I'm going to get that ward. I'm going to shift up the map into bot river. I'm going to clear this pink. I'm going to get a ward on the Gromp as well. And I place the ward over there so that it's out of range of anyone walking through this corridor and sweeping. And it's also out of range of a pink on the edge of the bush. And getting vision on enemy camps is always important. We see Yi making a play top. I think my top laner died and they got Herald, and so there's not much for us to do on this window. I'm going to try and be creative in fog here, and maybe we can catch them when they're coming back to lane and they're caught snoozing. I'm picking my jungler to come stand here. My body language is clear what I want, and then I'm just going to R and then W, and it just doesn't quite work out as initially planned, but you can see the intent, and I think it was a little bit awkward because my jungler was still doing the Gromp, and he doesn't have time to do the Gromp and to kill the ADC upon entering the lane. So it is what it is. I'm going to run forwards with my ult and charm, and then W after the charm CC expires, so I can get the most amount of CC. If I just W before my charm hits, then there's going to be less amount of CC. So you can see maximal CC And then my Rengar just gets annihilated on the back end, trying to follow up just a little bit too late. We get a big chunk though, which isn't nothing, and then we eventually do get that kill as well. I'm going to stopwatch. This was a pretty poor stopwatch, but what I wanted to do was just to try and block the E explosion. I didn't. I suppose at least the comet damage was blocked. And then we're going to try and collect as many kills as possible on the back end. Turns out it's not going to be many. And then my mid laner kind of collapses afterwards and dies, and my ADC was very far overextended. So that was quite painful for the progression of this game. On one hand, Varus got denied and died, and on the other hand, the Yi is quite fed now. No point in dwelling on that, thinking about what's next, timing the enemy summoners as well, making sure my team is on the same page. Okay, and we're going to come out of base now. And my mid lane is dead, and I see my jungler active on the map here. And the later the game goes on, the more you want to be linking up with your jungler and your team, and not being locked into the bot lane. And like I said, this is going to be our win condition this game, grouping up with mid jungle. Okay, so I'm moving to my jungle here, and this isn't going to be the easiest kill by any means, but we're kind of in a stage of this game where we just have to execute well and take higher risk plays to try and get back into the game. My top laner is getting absolutely annihilated. We have an off-roll ADC who's struggling. My mid lane is not looking like the greatest win con either. So it's pretty much up to me and the Rengar to see if we can find a way to carry this game. Okay. And so what I'm doing initially is I know that K'Sante still has his W where he can buffer CC. And so I don't want to use my W while he has his shield, or at least I want to find a way to W him and have the CC go through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk forwards and not initially like lead with my W. I'm going to walk forwards, I'm going to Q him, and then I'm going to walk close and then immediately place my W on the ground. If I'm Wing from a distance, it's very easy to react to. If I'm Wing exactly where I'm standing, it's much harder to react to this time. So I land the W, I give the E, and I give him another E, and I ignite, and then I'm just hoping for the best. And it turns out that it worked out, so cool, we get a kill there. My Rengar is probably going to be the win condition here now. As we can see, he's the only fed member. So this is going to be a really tough game, but let's see what we can do. And then my mid lane is getting destroyed. And we see the Yi here, so I'm just here to defend mid as much as possible. Turns out that we almost get a kill there. But the mid outer tower is extremely valuable, and I'm not comfortable just letting that fall, as then the game's going to get really, really hard to play. Okay, so I'm just going to let them get out. I'm not going to W forwards and overstep my limits and end up dying. Good try from my Jinx there. Moving back towards bot. And I'm going to try to wrap around. Maybe I found a pocket of fog here to threaten the enemy ADC from. I decide that it's probably not worth looking for it here, as my ADC is just probably going to catch the wave under tower instead. And so what I'm waiting for is for my jungler to be active on the map. My Rengar, as I said, is the only strong member here. It's going to be hard to be too proactive before Rengar is active and looking to pressure. Otherwise, I'm just going to try and be in fog as much as possible. Deny the enemy team information, be in as pressuring a spot as possible. And what you're going to see here is I'm not just going to immediately W away and panic. I'm going to wait until the Lux uses her spells, either her Q or her E, then I'm going to W away, because that means that she doesn't have that spell, right? So I'm going to W away from her E. Now she has no E. And then I'm putting the timers in chat again, and we can see that the enemy ADC has no flash. And I'm also calling that Yi is probably going to be around bot. And the reason that I decide that Yi is probably around bot is because there's just nowhere else for him to be. His bot camps are likely going to be up, and his bot lane is squishy, and they probably need protecting. And the enemy bot laner's bot language is quite aggressive as well. Also, we see the Varus is kind of ult. So we're going to play around Yi potentially being here. But a 3v3 skirmish, I'm not too afraid of, especially with my fed Rengar. And my champion is very good at disrupting Yi in a skirmish. Okay, so my body language is quite obvious that Rengar's around as well, but it is what it is. As we can see, my ADC is quite aggressive there. And then what's going to happen here is we're going to get a skirmish, get a couple kills. Now, in terms of how we're approaching this skirmish, just like the Lysandra situation where she E'd forwards and then I E'd onto her, I'm looking to use my E to extend my range and not lead off with W. So I'm going to wait until my Rengar jumps forwards. So I'm going to ult initially, and then I'm going to wait until he jumps forwards, and now I can E onto him and find an initial charm, and then W forwards. And then I can potentially E away afterwards, and it's just going to be neat and tidy. Okay, get a couple kills. And now I decide that there's not much to do. I'm going to let my jungler counter jungle if he wants. And I'm going to potentially stay on the map. And so what's going to happen here is I'm looking to base. There's not too much for me to do here. Although my ADC is still actively pressuring the map, my jungler is looking to actively pressure the map. What I'm going to do is end up cancelling my base. Maybe I can help my jungler to counter jungle, or maybe find an extra pick if someone else rotates down here. We see the enemy mid laner, and then I start to ping on the way. And I want to make sure I get an assist, so I'm just going to E. And the assist is not just for a pretty KDA, it's so that your team gets 150 extra gold as well if there were no other assisters. Save my W in case she flashes away and then I have to kill her. Okay, and now I'm going to use this opportunity to try and regain some control of the bot river back. Sweep out the wards, hit the pink. And now I'm probably going to look to get off the map. Look to W over a wall so that my base is harder to cancel. My mid and my jungle are both off map, so this is a really good time for me to base. Putting the flash timer in the chat as well to keep everyone focused and aligned on what we can look to do. Punish the Yee's flash. Doing a little bit of shopping. This was very slow shopping for me. I'm not sure why it took so long to purchase those items. Skirmish broke out, and then I typed in caps so that they can see that the Yi does not have flash, and they ended up killing him. Cool. Now I'm going to use my Chevaliers to try and get in position. This Lux looks a little bit out of position. And then I end up fighting over here. So let's just have a quick look at this one. The Lux is out of position. I'm going to invest my Chevaliers so that we get in range so that she has to either flash away or just die. I'm going to save my W initially, and then my Lysandra is getting rooted by the Lux, and so I know that the Lux is probably going to just try and one-shot the Lysandra on the back end of this fight, so that's going to give me an opportunity to look for my W. I don't have my E up to be able to just E and then W, so I'm just going to sprint forwards and try to find that W. We get the W, I find the Q, and now I want to E towards my Lysandra, so that I can give her the shield, and I can give her the Q heal that I just got from the Lux. Unfortunately, she's just out of my E range, and so I decide that I just want to flash onto her to make sure she gets the shield and the heal, so that the Varus doesn't get the kill. Because if he flash autos or flash Qs autos or flash E autos, then she would have died. Okay, so we get a couple kills on the back end there as well. So it's looking good. Now the win condition is still a bit murky. It's pretty much only the Rengar. These kills aren't really going to change that too much unless we get a lot more of those types of kills. I really want to get this mid tower if we can. We also have objective bounty, so this is going to help a lot. So now we no longer have the mid tower discrepancy, and so we might be able to contest for mid prio in this mid to late game on occasion. Timing the summoners. Sell the refillable for a pink. Laning phase is over, no need for refillables. Getting out onto the map, I decide that the Cassante and the Darius is not worth investigating here. I really want to try and play for this dragon. I'm telling my Jinx the same thing. We don't want to get baited into just running at the Cassante and hoping that we somehow manage to kill him. It's going to be a very low percentage chance. We're going to concede the entire rest of the map. I'm just going to leave top on an island for the moment and just let him get annihilated. It is what it is. But yeah, this dragon is going to be very important. I'm not sure if you saw there, but they do have the first two dragons. And so if they get this third dragon, they have Dragon Soul Point for the rest of the game. That's going to be a lot of pressure on us. And so here I'm going to try and find a pocket of fog. What I'm doing here is I'm not standing immediately in the bush because they could check it, right? They could Lux E it, they could Seraphine use Seraphine spells on it. They could use Varus spells on it. It's going to be quite a common bush to look at for the moment, and I want my jungler to, get his camps done, and then maybe we can look for a pick before giving away my location. So this is all in the name of information denial from the enemy. I'm going to be creative, and as you can see, she kind of walks into the bush, and then they get some confidence that no one's here, but someone is here, and then I'm going to Chevaliers and find a bit of a skirmish. So let's just have a look at what happened here in terms of execution. I'm going to Chevaliers for my Rengar. I'm going to activate my ult, and then I'm not just going to immediately W. Again, I'm going to use my teammate as a springboard and E off of him into a W. Now this does happen very fast. You want to be as fast as possible on the Rakan to be surprising. And then I'm going to E and then immediately W. This was a pretty poorly placed W. I should have W'd more around here to pass through the Lux and then maybe get the Varus, or I shouldn't have W'd so quickly. I could charm the Lux and then maybe run forwards, charm the Varus, and then W onto the Seraphine, or charm both of these and get a 2-man W here. But it ended up working out. We got the W knock-up onto the Varus. I put my second E onto the Rengar to give him Chevaliers again. Then I'm going to W away, but the E is just going to clean me up, so it is what it is. Okay, we can skip forwards until we revive, and then we're going to be back out onto the map. And so a lot of us died there. They got Dragon. So we're going to shove mid here. And then because the enemy team invested their tempo onto the Dragon, I'm comfortable in walking up, trying to contest this next mid wave, and then most likely shift up to pressure top side of the map. We just saw a bunch of enemies down in the minimap on bot side, and we want to be able to trade, and especially if we can get this top outer tower with its objective bounty, that could be something to play for, or we're just going to wait until Rengar, our Fed member, is active on the map and achieve something with him. So I'm going to pink in this mid bush next to mid lane over here, so that I can confidently move from mid through to the top side, and especially through top river and fog, and then we can see if we can get anything done. I'm going to walk over to the Baron Pit, drop a ward over here, and this ward is going to be good. Once again, denying common sweep and pink locations. It's very unusual that someone is going to clear this ward over here, and I'm not confident in warding any deeper because they're going to come back out onto the map and easily clear it. So I'm just going to be posturing around, waiting until my Rengar is active, staying in fog, denying the enemy team information, pinging that I want to play for top tower here, and we might be able to find a pick. If not, we'll just get the objective bounty, and then I'm going to E onto my Rengar, and I'll just slow this down after we get the kill. So that wasn't very well executed from me, but again, we're using our Rengar as a springboard. So I'm going to E1 to him, and then I'm going to Chevaliers him, and then I'm going to press R, and then E2 to him, and then I'm just a little bit hasty with my W, or we can say that the Darius's pull kind of ruined my W as well. Either way, the result is going to end up being the same, and we get the kill. And so this can be a really big deal. We're behind, but we get to kill the enemy mid laner, and we get to potentially get the outer turret with bounty and really start to mount a comeback. Unfortunately, my Rengar ends up dying, and so this is just going to make the result of this play a little bit worse. But this is something that you should be looking to do when you are behind. And the enemy team invested all of their tempo on bot side. We managed to set up a creative pick around top side and punish. We're not going to win this game by ticking the boxes and looking to pressure through mid at all. Okay, so given that the jungler died, we can no longer hang around for that top tower. Now we're just going to lick our wounds around bot side of the map. I am using my E on my ADC from base here so that I can apply the move speed to both of us. And then I'm going to be running through to bot side and seeing if anything is going to happen here. If there's going to be a fight, maybe I can help save my Lissandra or kill the Cassante. I'm not looking to be too proactive unless it looks like they're out of position, because this is where they're investing their control and their resources and their numbers. So they are quite low, and here we're just going to try to make a play. And again, we're not going to win this game by taking high percentage plays. We're behind. We need to execute well, and I'm ready to follow up once my Lissandra pulls the trigger. Finding that Q, placing that Q onto my ADC to heal and get that Shirelia's move speed. And here, they're chunked. They've kind of invested their tempo now, and we have the advantage, and so I'm going to try and chase them to the ends of the earth to see if we can get any more kills. Because if we can find a few more kills, huge deal in coming back in this game, and I have Shirelia's to constantly provide my teammates move speed to potentially catch some people out of position. And so I'm just warding those bushes to make sure that he doesn't get up to any shenanigans in Fog. Giving him zero counterplay. I want to be able to run forwards confidently and make sure there's no trap being set up over here. And then I'm going to Shirelia's and try to dodge the Lux Q. Unfortunately, I fail in that regard and we get poked out. So the chasing to the ends of the earth didn't end up working out, but I'm more than happy to look for something like that. And it turns out that my jungler is not done, so I'm going to cancel my base. Proc some Shirelia's on my teammates, and then probably look to cut the play there because there's nothing left to achieve. We kind of failed on killing them. And I'm going to get an exit ward. And that ward location is just going to see this entire intersection, right? It's going to be a very useful ward. It's probably going to get swept out, but it's not going to get pinked at the least. And so now we're getting concerned about Yi being on Baron, and so I'm going to peel off, staying in Fog, not letting any potential wards or minions see me. And we're worried about Yi soloing or doing the Baron. And fortunately, that's not what ends up happening. But again, I'm looking to be creative. I want to find a pick. If we're just going to ARAM around mid, we are going to lose that really hard. And because we forced them under their bot tier 2 and then they have to base and come back out onto the map, I know that they can't have any type of vision set up where I am or the numbers. So I'm being creative. I really want to find a pick. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flash in him and invest my ults, and I'm more than happy to make a play like that. But again, it's this creativity that's going to afford us come back into this game. If we can translate this jungle pick into Baron, and then we get another objective bounty, and we get the Yi kill gold, and we get the Baron buff, then we're really, really back into the game. I'm forcing the enemy team to play almost perfectly, to not skip any steps, to not get complacent, to not get lazy. And of course, that's not going to happen in Challenger or in any elo. So we get a kill there. And now I really want to force Baron. You can see that I'm spam pinging this. So that's what I'm pinging for. Getting a little bit frustrated that my teammates are just doing some weird fight around mid. And that chunk on my Darius probably means that we no longer have the freedom to do Baron. Now, this Baron window is not the biggest window because he is going to respawn eventually. We invested Rakan ult, Lissandra ult. We are behind in gold. So the longer we wait, the more that this window is just going to close. And eventually, especially once the Darius gets chunked for practically no reason, it is what it is. I'm going to call off the Baron and then look to skirmish instead and maybe get some more kills and close that gold lead more and more. Okay. And so then we end up getting another pick with the Rengar, and now I'm going to try and peel my ADC. And just in terms of execution here, I want to find a W, and I don't want my W to get cancelled by Casante's third Q. And so I'm going to W in front because he's most likely going to try to run this way. If he kites this way, it doesn't matter anyway. So I get the knock up, and then I get the E, and then I'm going to find a Q and get that onto my ADC with my second E. So now I'm just kind of waiting for my cooldowns, and unfortunately the skirmish is really bad by our front line. So now we're on the back foot again, unfortunately. And so here I'm just trying to stay alive. I think that this fight is kind of done, and I am making sure that my teammates, with respect to my E, is going to put me into safety once I E. So I E to my mid laner to apply Chevaliers and then kind of assess from there. And then I assess this situation is absolutely doomed. Let's just try to survive as much as we can. There's an argument to be made to try and kill the Varus here, but since I'm not over here and I can't W him very easily, and my Lissandra doesn't have ult, I make a in the moment decision to just try and escape. And then I E and immediately W and just try to get out and save myself. Okay, so my entire team dies, so now the game is going to be really, really tough. We kind of missed that window to mount a meaningful comeback, and so we're probably going to have 2 to 3 more creative plays and slowly crawl our way back into this game if we are to win. At the very least, if we're not going to win, that's fine. I'm going to make it as tough as possible for the enemy team to win. I'm going to make them do everything right. I'm going to make them sweat for it. And so I know that they invested all of their tempo on top side, so that gives me an opportunity to run through towards bot river and potentially set up a creative pick on bot side of the map. So that's what I'm looking to do here, create a pocket of fog. Maybe they get complacent again and face check or get a little bit lazy. Unfortunately, I passed over a pink. They swept out my ward here. They found a ward on me over here. So that's not going to end up happening. And this dragon is just really important because this is the soul point. If they get this dragon, they have dragon soul, which is a huge win con for them. So this is kind of the last stand in a way. And so the way that we're going to approach this fight, I'm trying to find a way to enter the river because we're not going to be able to just shove mid and then neatly organize ourselves in a front to back with our tanks in front and our carriers behind. We also don't want to do that anyway. My Rengar wants to find a pick. He wants to assassinate someone. I want to be there with him and enable him and use him as a springboard for me to skirmish as well. Unfortunately, they're playing front to back and we can't really access their backline very easily. But I'm waiting until I see someone potentially out of position and then maybe I can inject some volatility and find someone with my Rengar. But it's not looking very likely. And then my ADC is just kind of forcing my hand here, forcing me to use my cooldowns, and then it collapses very quickly. And so looking back on this, I think it's necessary to try and contest for the dragon. Dragon Soul, and especially Infernal Soul, is just too much to deal with, and maybe my team performs better, and maybe the enemy team slips up. That isn't what happened, so be it. When you're behind, you can't take high percentage plays. You're going to have to pounce on your opportunities and try to recognize them and try to be creative in making windows for yourself. So this game, my build, I mentioned my Mythic and my Boots and my Runes. I wanted to go Mikhail's because they have a lot of CC, right? They have the Varus ult, they have the Lux Q, they have the Seraphine ult. And generally, you're going to choose between Redemption and Mikhail's and Knight's Vow as your second item. I deem that Mikhail's is probably the best option here. My Jinx is not going to be the win condition. I don't want to use Knight's Vow on my Jinx. And Mikhail's has a lot of value here. Game's still winnable, always winnable. I'm going to just place some defensive wards around top side quadrant now and potentially sweep it out. I'm typing that we need to find a pick. There's no way that we can do anything grouped up. And it's very hard to get too much done around mid unless we find someone sleeping out of position. So here we go. I'm going to use my E to speed up my Rengar and then kind of go from there. Unfortunately, I didn't quite have my ultimate up. It is what it is. Trading 1-for-1 is always going to be worth in this type of game state. I'm backpinging. This is a horrible fight now. And so what should have happened is we just get the pick, trade 1-for-1, and then exit. And maybe we could have gotten some more kills, especially if my ult was up or if something went better. My Rengar just kind of gets one shot, unfortunately. And then my teammates misassess the situation. You can see my body language and my pings are communicating that we just need to escape. So there's nothing more I can do in that sense. We end up trading 2 for 3. Again, not the worst thing in the world. They're probably not going to be able to end with their Baron now. And then my top laner gets solo killed. So looking a little bit rough. But we're always going to vote no. You never know what could happen. Until your Nexus explodes, the game's winnable. Especially if you're mentally resilient and you're always looking for opportunities for the enemy to throw. If you just roll over and die, you're going to lose faster. And you're going to miss out on those satisfying comebacks. Not much for me to do here, of course. Just trying to be annoying, waiting for my teammates to revive. And they've invested their tempo. They're going to have a lot of unspent gold. They're going to be missing some cooldowns. And again, here's an opportunity to potentially chase them to the ends of the earth. Maybe we can find and catch a straggler and get a foothold back into the game. And then we see some stragglers here. And so we're delaying their base. We're buying some time to farm up and turtle and potentially find a kill. But this Cassante is a real problem to get through. But that gives us some more time, so we can now move back up towards the rest of the map and start to exert some control. Still linking up with my jungle. And now the play is kind of done. Unfortunately, we're really trying to see if we can find anything, but it's just not going to happen. So we're kind of running out of options here. And then my Rengar dies, unfortunately. So back to base it is, and maybe they overstep their limits onto our Nexus. Unfortunately, what's going to happen here is my ADC wants to look for a pick here, and I hesitate a little bit, and then I just get Seraphine ulted, and I'm not quick enough to, dodge the Seraphine ult and then ult her, or kind of flash over here. But she is tanky. She probably has Zhonya's as well. I don't really like this play, but I just kind of have to commit and trust my ADC's call in that situation. There's no time to assess too hard and let my ADC die or anything. And then my teammates make their last stand and get cleaned up. And then our Nexus is going to end up exploding. And we're going to type GG. So this was a tough game. And I felt like I did a lot to try and win the game, to try and make comebacks, to accurately assess the win con. But I wanted to show you guys this game because sometimes games are just really, really hard to win. And it's totally fine. Just do whatever is in your control. Maximize your chances of winning or the enemy's chances of throwing. And if you lose, you lose, right? You're never going to win all of your games. I found this a lot of fun. I found it fun to be creative and to try and problem solve and make it hard, because this game was a lot harder for the enemy team to win than it should be. And I take pride and satisfaction in that. I didn't play perfectly. No one ever is going to. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you took something away from this video. And if you enjoyed this type of content or have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I always make time to respond to every comment. Thanks for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed. Big thank you to all of my Patreons over here. I really couldn't do this without you. The links for coaching, for Patreon, for my School of Support Discord server, for socials, they're all going to be linked in the description below. Any and all support is greatly appreciated.